Asparagus harvest is often picking. The MSU Dairy Cattle Teaching and Research Center suffers a fire, and the National FFA Convention returns to an in-person format. I'm Janelle Brose, and this is Farm News 5.
Farm News 5 is brought to you by Ford.
Michigan's asparagus harvest is in full swing. After a slow start due to cooler temperatures, this week's warm-up allowed Oceana County's Golden Stalk Farms harvest crews to begin picking in earnest.
Today the goal is to pick a lot of asparagus. It's going to be a really big day. We're hoping for probably 90 pallets, which would be about 60,000 pounds. With the temperatures the way they are, most of the fields are going to be picked twice. So the biggest goal is just staying on top of everything and making sure that the crews are moving to the fields they need to get moved to, and the asparagus is being picked for the market that it needs to go to based off the quality. When it's 77 degrees out, it's growing so quickly you have to be checking the fields every 2 to 3 hours because they're growing, and you need to make sure that the crews that are on them are going to be able to get them picked, or do we need to bring another crew over here to make sure this gets picked before it gets too tall. We have to pick some fields twice when it gets this warm, so keeping an eye on that to let crews know if they when they finish, if they have to go back and start at the beginning again.
Golden Stalk Farms has close to 300 acres of asparagus, with the majority of their crop going to the fresh market.
This goes to Todd Greiner Farms for fresh, and then he takes it to, I believe, Meijer and Walmart. So you'll see it. You'll see Todd Greiner Farms asparagus at Meijer and Walmart in Michigan, and I think throughout the Midwest.
For the 9 crews actively picking this week, the most important factor is the vegetable's height.
So they're looking for tip quality, that it's nice and intact like this one, and then the height to be in that 11 to 13 inch range. You figure they're doing this for 12 to 13 hours a day, so first of all, it's very labor intensive. And second of all, you have to move fairly quickly, especially when it's growing this fast. And then you have to decide in a split second, looking at a spear, if it's tall enough to be picked or if it's too short, if the quality is there or not. You have to drop it, or you have to orient it. If you pick it, you have to orient it in the box a certain way. And then when the box is full, you have to stack it up, bring another one down, all while the cart's still moving. There's a lot of skill involved. We have a couple new crews this year that are getting trained up. They're doing a good job, but you can definitely tell the guys that have been doing it for a few years and the skill levels that they have. A good crew can cover 30 plus acres a day of good quality asparagus, which is a lot with a 5-man crew.
When the over 100 Michigan asparagus farms finish harvest next month, approximately 20 million pounds of asparagus will have been picked for the fresh and processing markets. Coming up, a quick-thinking MSU student employee responds to the dairy farm fire.
There's torque. Then there's 1,050 pound-feet of available best-in-class torque. There's towing. Then there's up to 37,000 pounds of available best-in-class towing. There's backing up a trailer. Then there's backing up with available class-exclusive Pro Trailer Backup Assist. In other words, there are trucks, and then there's the new Ford Super Duty, the most capable heavy-duty pickup truck ever built.
They had been smelling smoke for days, but neither Michigan State University's Dairy Cattle Teaching and Research Center employees nor the local fire department could sniff out the source. It wasn't until Saturday evening that the flames erupted near the feed barn.
Saw some smoke when I was about finished with my feeding, and I came back to see what it was, and I saw that the barn was on fire, and I saw the flames coming out of the barn door. So I immediately stopped because I was in a gator and slammed on the brakes in my gator and jumped out and called 911. And then I ran down to go get my coworkers because they were about to start milking cows.
Tennyson's quick thinking likely saved the lives of both livestock and staff on May 15th.
After I knew that our student employee, Ann, had the fire department notified, and where I could hear the sirens in the background, she had me on FaceTime. And we got the other employees out of the barns. We got all the cows out of the milking parlor because I was a little unclear as to how the electrical would impact some of that, and I didn't want anybody exposed to any kind of electricity problems or anything. And then once we found out that the facility was clear, after about an hour, actually we were able to start right back and start milking, and pretty much everything stayed on schedule through the next, through that night. The next morning, everybody got up, and because this was kind of a localized fire, pretty much it was business as usual the next day. Yeah, this was extreme tragedy, but fortunately it was contained. Somehow there was a little bit of wind that day and the embers really didn't blow over and get anything else on fire. It could have been a real super big tragedy had some of the other barns where the livestock were housed. It could have been detrimental to people and livestock both. There was numerous fire departments out here. When they reacted, they were able to contain the fire just to the one area. All the other barns were spared. This will impact our daily operations quite a bit. We used it not only for feed storage, we did use some of the silos for storage. Some have been set empty just because of they were in need of maintenance and quite old and a little bit inefficient, so some of the facilities won't impact us much, but there are some impact of some of these silos that were in use. Fortunately, at the MSU Dairy Farm, we always plan for about 6 months of carryover of feed inventories. And so we've got, even though we lost some feed out of this, we'll still have quite a bit of buffer.
Student employees have spent the days after the fire monitoring the silos for flare-ups.
A lot of them have kind of staged 2-hour shifts throughout the night of watching for flare-ups. We have a hose out here. The fire department has been real good about coming out too. So yeah, we're continuing to monitor that. I think we've now have just about all of the little small piles of feed spread out to where there shouldn't be any more flare-ups, but again, we'll continue to monitor it. And we just recently had an excavation company out here that's actually had a lot of experience in taking down silos, and so once it's approved by the engineers and everything here at Michigan State University, we'll probably be removing most of the silos. Most of them have been jeopardized as far as the concrete. Concrete got heated pretty bad on some of them, so there's a little bit of a safety risk here, and so we'll be hopefully here within the next month or so, we'll be getting a lot of these silos taken down.
It is believed an electrical issue caused the fire. Up next, fourth-generation Kitchen Farms suffers a devastating fire.
At Farm Bureau Insurance, the experience you get with our local trusted advisors is different. From financial security to a helping hand, Farm Bureau understands the experience matters. Find an agent who can protect what matters to you.
Kitchen Farms, a fourth-generation potato operation, suffered a devastating fire Monday. Multiple buildings caught fire, impacting everything from their shipping and handling space to their seed and storage facilities. The Elmira, Michigan farm grows more than 1,200 acres of potatoes each year. Kelly Turner, executive director of the Michigan Potato Industry Council, says construction issues may have caused the fire. The National FFA Convention will return to an in-person format this fall. The event will be held in Indianapolis October 27th through the 30th and feature the American FFA degree ceremony, competitive events, and delegate business sessions. The National FFA organization is adding virtual events to this year's convention agenda as well, including teacher and student workshops and the streaming of general sessions. Last fall, the 2020 convention was held virtually due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Michigan ag exports jumped by almost 20% in 2020, totaling over $2.1 billion. The increase was driven by a surge in exports of dairy products, soybeans, sugar beet byproducts, and despite the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. The last time Michigan's food and agriculture exports reached this level was in 2014. For more news and videos, visit MichiganFarmNews.com or the Michigan Farm Bureau channel on YouTube. With Farm News 5, I'm Janelle Brose. Have a great week of farming.